That's right. He's from Always Irish, the Always Irish Show. Mr. John Kennedy, welcome to the OHIO podcast, my friend.
That was pretty good. I like that. That's right. You got it. That's pretty good. I like that. I think you worked on that. It's good to be here. I got to tell you guys though, it's a bit alarming the amount of Ohio State people that tune into my show fairly regularly. It's kind of good, but every once in a while, my own people go, John, what are you going to call yourself? The Always Bucknut Show from now on, or what? But it's good to have you guys around. I appreciate it.
Hey, I enjoy your show immensely. The entertainment value is great. And hey, we also have a brand new sponsor today. That's right. Lucky Charms is our new sponsor today for just this episode. John, I didn't know you were so popular. You're on the box of Lucky Charms, looking good there.
I better get some royalties off this deal, or I'm going to have to sue somebody. What's the deal here? Just like your use of "the," I don't like that. I'm going to have to get. If I don't get royalties out of that deal, I'm gonna have a beef.
That's how it all started. Was your rant on how Ohio State has taken the word "the"? You know, it's funny to me. They came at me for my logo I had, so I had to change my logo. They're very protective over there in Columbus, Ohio. But
Did they really go after you for that?
Yes.
I had an issue. You know what I had an issue with? The cursive Irish script that I had on my original logo. I got some t-shirts made. I trademarked the name and everything and protected it. I copyrighted it. Notre Dame's legal team went at me in 1 minute, man. It went live and they were like, you can't use that Irish script. So I've been there.
Ours was an exclamation point that got us in trouble. The exclamation point separating OH from IO got us in trouble.
Like, these people don't make enough money off all this stuff. They got to come after the little guy. But I was like, you guys don't own. What if I'm saying I'm Irish? You don't own that. And they're saying if it's in the football arena, you can't use the cursive. We got it. So I've been there.
Oh my goodness! Hey, we have
come after Eric for that light that's behind his head right now.
Yeah, right. So we have Alaska. We have Alaska in the house. We got Florida in the house, and Matt Butcher from Australia is in the house. So we've got an Irish and an Australian. And Matt Butcher, I don't know what you call an Alaskan, but maybe tough, I guess. But we are thankful to have all of you with. All right, John. We're calling this the John Kennedy experience. People who've never listened to the Always Irish show, they are in for a treat because you've got one speed, and that's the full throttle go. And so we're going to fire some questions at you. We're going to have some good discourse over the next hour. We want you to post your comments and questions in the chat. We've already got one good question from Donald Hoffer. We'll cover that, I promise. But let's start right here tonight, John Kennedy. I want to know your background story. How did you become a Notre Dame fan? When and how? And the Always Irish show. Give us your background on that.
Yeah, so it's interesting. In some years where Notre Dame struggles and there's fan complaints, some people on Twitter will say, if you don't like it, pick another team to root for. I hear some of that. If you don't like what's going on, pick another team. My response my entire life to that has been, I don't understand what you mean, pick another team. I didn't pick Notre Dame to begin with. It's who we are. We're an Irish Catholic family from the South Chicago suburbs. I went to school in the Southside Chicago Catholic League. Notre Dame's everything to us. There was no picking. We're Irish Catholics. And it represents our values, the struggle coming over from Ireland, all of that history. But I think the big thing for my family specifically was my grandfather overlapped in the Navy in World War II with Frank Leahy when he left who's my favorite Notre Dame coach of all time. Losing physically broke that guy down. He was so dedicated to winning. I'll love him forever. But my grandfather overlapped with him in the Navy when he left his post at Notre Dame, went to the Navy, and Frank was always thinking, and he told the Navy, I'll go do this, but you put me in charge of the recreation or whatever with these guys. So he went in there and he recruited all those guys. And he said, if we get out of here in one piece, if you have eligibility, come to Notre Dame. So he was able to go serve in the Navy and then come back with a bunch of those players and then didn't lose a game the next 4 years and didn't come close to it. So my grandfather had that specific tie with Frank. But there was no pick in Notre Dame. It's just who we are, and everybody in the family's that way. And when we were growing up, if Notre Dame lost, it ruined the week, and nobody talked to each other till the next time we won. Like, that's just how it is. So it's just something I was born into. And then, you get older and things change. And mid 2016, Brian Kelly built things up and then it came crashing down due to some of his own decisions. I did not feel the Notre Dame media was pushing anything. They were not asking tough questions. They were carrying water. There was way too much talent to be that bad. I didn't feel they were pressing the issue. And I just said, heck with it. I'll do my own thing then. So I was so mad I didn't know what else to do and I had to get it out. So mid 2016, I started. It was audio only. I didn't have a studio. I didn't have, I wasn't even doing YouTube. It was audio only. And then it started to build and people said, there's a lot of shows, but the way you do things is a little different. So I kind of have my own niche there, doing things a little more animated and raw than a lot of people do. And it took off from there. And then you get on Twitter. And then I said, I'm going to build out a studio and do it on YouTube. And then that really kind of helped just because the video, people could put a face to the name, that kind of thing. And it's been building since then. So it's just a beautiful thing, you guys. It's my therapy. Like I go in that studio, it's a timeout on real life and it's football land. It's like therapy for me. And I just talk it out, work it out, whatever comes in my mind. And I love it. This show is my baby. I love it. And then the radio thing really added to it. When I figured out how I could hook up a phone line, letting people have a voice, it matters. I don't want to be one of these guys where I just want you to hear what I think and it's all about me. I wanted to give our fans an avenue. And so that's really helped, just being able to open up the phone lines and let people have their time. Happy, sad, mad, glad, whatever we're going through. So that's kind of how it all started, little by little, and here we are.
There you go. So here we are, and so we're very similar paths. We were a few years behind you, but we started out as audio only, came to video in January, and here we are hooking up. This is pretty cool. Chris, you got the next question before I ask Donald Hoffer's first question tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. John, I understand completely what you're talking about with just the Irish Catholic background. My ex-wife came from that same background. I had the fortune of being the Ohio State fan in that Notre Dame group in the 90s, back there when we had Eddie running all over you guys. So that was a great time for me. But what have been your thoughts on Ohio State as a Notre Dame fan?
Yeah, so it all depends on, we got to get more specific because it depends on exactly what we're talking about. Generally speaking, as a Notre Dame fan, we haven't won anything I care about since I was 4 years old. So it's frustrating to watch a team, especially kind of in your geographical region, have the recruiting and the on-field success that you guys have had in the time frame that we've been up and down and struggled. And so there's always some frustration there when you see a team, especially in your kind of region, that's getting a higher end result. So there's always that frustration. However, on the other side of it, we can both agree we don't care for Michigan very much.
Amen.
So we're on the same damn side there. All right.
Yes, we are.
So whatever we're going to get into, we might disagree about. We're on the same side on that one. I have no use for any of those people in any way. And I've had nothing but a lifetime of reasons to feel and think that way. So we can agree on that. And then here's the other practical consideration. You guys are kind of the model of, a northern colder weather team that could compete at an elite level and recruit at an elite level. You know, we hear about everything in the South, and we all know that's where a lot of the talent is, the Southeast and Texas. And then if you want to get out into LA and some of what they have out there in USC land, another group I don't have any use for. And so it is sometimes good to know it can be done. You know, I always hear, John, it's too cold. You can't recruit any good players up to Notre Dame. I go, they don't have that issue at Ohio State, and they have worse weather than us, if not the same. So if you do it right, it can be done. And so in that way, you guys are a little bit of a model that proves you could be a northern cold weather winter type team and still get some top end talent. And that's, you know, I don't want to say like a beacon of hope, but it's just good to have that in a northern area somewhere. And you guys are about the best at doing that. So on that level, you know, I think that is healthy and good.
All right. So, yeah, there's a lot of common in there. And I experience that a lot when I'm in your show in the chat. There's a lot of things that a lot of your viewers agree with that I agree with. And, you know, I obviously, like you, I was born and raised in this. As Chris's daughter like to tell us, being a Buckeye fan means you're a part of a cult. So there's a lot of similarities there. It is. It's almost like a second religion. But, you know, all of that being said, you have, and I don't know the story behind this, but here is a question that we've got to have covered here. And let me see if I can find it from Donald Hoffer. Yes, here we go. Donald Hoffer says, what is the deal with all the hate towards Big Nut, aka his real name is John Peters? What's up with that, man? I haven't heard the whole story yet. But what's going on there between you and Big Nut, my man?
Listen, like, some of it is in jest. I mean, you guys, wait a second. First off, you're not going to suggest to me it's normal for a grown adult large male to have full face paint, right? Are we going to, can you concede that's not a normal thing to do? To be
Okay.
a full grown large adult male and have full face paint to get on TV? You can't tell me that's a normal activity.
It's not
can't.
it's not
We're
normal
talking to
for
somebody who wears Jedi robes, man. I mean,
well, I tell you, it's not normal for 104,999, but that for that 105,000 for John Peters, it's totally normal, my man.
Yeah.
Totally normal.
Like, but there's no way you can expect me to not have animosity to the guy. Like in the bowl game in 15, you're beating us and they zoom in on him. Like by proxy, I don't like him for that. I don't care. Like it's just all right. But there is a backstory, like a real one. He probably wouldn't remember it, and I barely remember it. But back in the day, I used to live directly across the street from Northwestern Stadium on the north side of Chicago, the first suburb in Evanston. And I was going to grad school, and I lived right across the stadium. And Northwestern was playing Ohio State, and we have like these patio areas. And a big group of Ohio State people just kind of started tailgating in my little lawn area there. And I was opening up the window, yelling stuff, and then ducking, and they'd look up, and I was, running my mouth and ducking, just kind of messing with them. So then that became the story where I was like, this guy was tailgating in my yard. It was something else I could use on him. And it was kind of half funny, but I knew it was him because you can't miss the guy, And so I would yell, get off my porch, and then duck and see them all looking up. But some of it's in jest, and I understand. I've learned he's a very charitable guy, does a lot of good work and all that stuff. It might have been you. Somebody said to me once, you don't realize how much good stuff he does for our community. I'm assuming meaning the Columbus area and all that. And my response was, well, good for him. Keep it there. Don't come to South Bend. Keep doing your charitable work, but keep it over there. So some of it is just he's a representation of like you guys, your success that we want. Like I admit, it's just a part of it. And wherever you're at in a 100,000 stadium, he always ends up on TV, and it makes me mad. Maybe a little jealous because I want that kind of promotion. Maybe that's it.
I was hoping you would get a little bit more into it so I could give you this, a triggered leprechaun warning with
That's good.
I had that one ready for you there, John.
Yeah. So it's just a little combination of everything. A little bit of jealousy of the success you've had, not thinking it's normal to be an older, bigger guy with full face paint walking around every city. And then, and some of it's an easy thing to get mad about. Just like the thing before the game last year, I lost my mind on it. It was the week of the game. And we got into it, and it just bugged me in that moment, and then it became a meme and a GIF and or whatever, and it just took off. But the idea that you could own the word "the" is just astounding to me in any capacity that you could put "the" and if you say it "the," it's different than "the." Give me a break.
Oh shoot! Robert Allen says the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
We're in lockstep on that. I have no use for those people in any way, shape, or form at all. It's a brain disorder. It's Michigan football brain disorder. I call it MFBD. It's Michigan football brain disorder. There's something wrong with these people. It isn't just the fans. I even have problems with some of their media guys. It isn't even a classy. There are guys that cover their recruiting stuff. No class, no integrity. They don't do things the right way. Like they will manipulate stuff. Like it isn't just like fans you argue with on Twitter. I have actual problems with some of the people doing actual legitimate media for them. Like I just have no use for any of them in any capacity at all.
No, we don't either, John.
We call that TTUN, right, Eric?
Yeah, TTUN, that team up north. We don't even like to mention them, and if we do, we X out the M. We don't even like to even acknowledge their little symbol there. You know, I think the biggest and I have a friend who I make bets with in the last 2 years, and now I'm going to have to really pay up by taking him to the game this year and paying for his ticket. Here's the thing that I just can't get over. They are so obnoxiously snobby. They think everything about them is better. They think that their education is better. They think that Ann Arbor's better. They think their colors are better. They think their band is better. They think their team is better. They think their coach is better. And it just rubs me the wrong way to the point where Ohio State fans have just they despise them, everything about them. There is a true hate. And so when we see Notre Dame going after them, we back you up, man. We absolutely back you up because there's no room there. And what's I think be very interesting, and this is kind of the tail end off of that, with USC coming into the Big Ten, I wrote there on Saturday. It was written. It was published on Saturday Blitz. I believe USC's biggest rival in the conference when they join will be Ohio State. They have played Ohio State more than any other team in the Big Ten, and I know your guys' hate to the Trojans is about pretty close to our hate to the team up north. There could be a little bit of a pat on the back there from you guys towards us when we take them down as well. I find that dichotomy very, very interesting there, John.
Yeah, for sure. You know, that USC thing, it's going to be really interesting. And I figured when we were going to do this show, at some point, the discussion of the possibility of Notre Dame in the Big Ten somewhere down the road would come up. The moment I really started to think that could become a thing was when they announced USC was going to join the Big Ten, because that's our number one. You play them every year, historical rival, you know. Rockney taking him out on the train to go to LA because, by the way, you want to know why? Because Michigan's Fielding Yost was so openly anti-Catholic, anti-immigrant, he told everybody not to play us. And that forced Rockney to get on the train and go to New York and play Army and Navy, forced him to get on the train and go play in LA to find enough games to make a schedule. So That's the other thing Michigan people say. You're scared to join the Big Ten. And I said, when we wanted to, your own guy was the one who wouldn't let us. So you don't get to cry about it now. But the USC and the Big Ten is super interesting. One is, Lincoln Riley's going to get his talent. They're cranking back up the Carroll stuff, coming up with Hollywood money to pay guys and do all that. So I like the idea that I want to see these boys from Southern California go play Penn State or Rutgers on a late November afternoon where it's about 14 degrees, freezing rain and snow. I want all that. I want to see them get in that mix and see how they handle that. But it's definitely going to be interesting. I don't know how that's going to work out. They're going to be flying all over, and it's going to be really interesting. And the USC thing is I hate those Michigan people, but I have to give them credit on this. At least they care. Like, it's illogical, a lot of the arguments and things they say, but those people care. Year round, every day, Michigan fans care. What makes me mad about USC is they're out there surfboarding, hang 10 all the time. Nobody goes to their games, and then the new coach is here. Suddenly, they're all back in it, acting like they're diehards. They're all full of crap. They're out there fair weather as can be, surfboarding and hanging out on the beach and in Hollywood being weird or whatever. And then when they decide to, they act like they buy back into football. And I have no respect for being that flaky about football. So the Michigan people, I do credit them that. They really do care. And the USC fans are just so fickle, and they're only going to show up if they're good one year or Notre Dame comes to town, that kind of thing. But it's going to be really interesting. But that USC in the Big Ten piece that's when I thought, man, if ND's ever going to do a conference thing, it's going to definitely be this one. And that was the icing on the cake, because you can avoid all questions of what's going to happen with that rivalry if it's in conference. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. I just don't know when.
We'll ask one more question here before we take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to dive into Notre Dame and Ohio State, the game this year, and have some nice discussion with there. But this is from James. He wants to know your thoughts on USC and UCLA joining the Big Ten. And I'll add to that a little bit. What does that mean for Notre Dame? And as a Notre Dame fan, when you heard the news and you see this happening, what's the Notre Dame fan base view this as well?
I think there's two parts of that. Part one is what I just talked about, of that is like a huge, Notre Dame wants to maintain that rivalry. USC always wants to maintain that rivalry. So, if Notre Dame joins a conference, it's going to be the Big Ten. It isn't going to be the ACC. Nobody wants to join that bad TV deal and sign up for that and whatever. The SEC is not a good fit for different reasons. Like, it would be the Big Ten. So that's one part of it. But the other part of it is the Pac-12 is not perceived to be one of the tougher conferences, grinding week in, week out. So for now, Notre Dame fans, I think, like the idea that USC is going to have to play more tough teams in more tough environments more often and have some awkward travel and all that involved. We kind of like that. I kind of like that. I think it'll test them more than their traditional Pac-12 schedule will. And I also don't want to denigrate UCLA either. We don't have that history with them like USC, but similar concept there. And so short term, I think we're excited to see them have to play in some cold weather. We all know they don't even like coming to our place in the second week of October. It's 65, 70 degrees. I'm tailgating in a polo, and they're in their winter parka, lighting a barrel of garbage on fire for warmth in the parking lot, like freezing. It's like, why'd you even come here then? Stay in Hollywood if you're going to be miserable. It's 65 degrees. But I'm telling you, dude, that USC announcement to the Big Ten, it was a big bell to all of us, like, oh man, is that step one that eventually leads us down this path? You guys, it's hard for me to not see all these external angles leading Notre Dame in that direction for a lot of reasons. Now, the one thing that's interesting with it is Notre Dame's athletic director stepping down after next year, and his replacement has already been announced, and he's an NBC TV exec. All right. And so Notre Dame's got their TV deal up for negotiation. We're going to see where that leads. And again, we're kind of getting married with the Big Ten there because now they're involved with NBC and college football production. So all of these angles have Notre Dame fans in their head thinking, are all these arrows pointing us to one conclusion? And it would just be a matter of maybe when and what the money looks like. You know how that is. I hate to say it, but that dictates a lot. And we need to make sure this next TV deal as an independent, it doesn't have to be as much payout as the SEC and you guys are going to get, but it has to be in the ballpark enough that you can compete operationally and with infrastructure. So it's going to be interesting, but that Notre Dame to Big Ten thing is on my mind every day now.
Yes, it is. And I got to ask one more before we go to commercial break because it's Donna Boggs. It's my mom asking for my dad. This is so mystery fan wants to ask. This definitely comes from my dad. How fun was the Catholic versus convicts game?
Well, I might have to ask my dad since I was only, like 4 years old. So I might have to call my dad and ask since I was 4. But I'm going to tell you, the hatred you guys have, like with Michigan, that era of Notre Dame, Miami, it was literally like opposing views of every single value in the world of how we were trying to do it and how they were trying to do it. And they represented everything we hated. We represented everything they hated. And it was a magical moment for Notre Dame and a special afternoon there. And I watched the replays of that game and all of it all the time. That rivalry was so hot and so intense and so real, and just animosity and bad blood and just all of it. And just the little skirmish there in the tunnel. And the guys went in the locker room after that skirmish before the game. You do your warm-ups, then you run off, and then you come back out. And there was that little tussle. There was helmets flying and punches. And Rocket Ismail tells this story. You got little 5'4" Lou Holtz there, little Lou. And they get that skirmish cleared out. They go in the locker room, and those players think Lou's going to come in there and go, you were fighting, you're out of the game. You swung a punch. We're not doing that here. You're out of the game. And Lou walked in there, and they're all nervous of what he's going to say. And he just says, save Jimmy Johnson's ass for me. And that was it. The game was, Notre Dame wasn't going to lose that game after that. That little 5'4" leprechaun got up there and said, save Jimmy Johnson's ass for me. And the guys went nuts. And then that started that whole game. It's just, I get frustrated because I just wish these great moments we had to relive weren't all from when I was like 4 and 5 years old. Like, I'm getting sick of rehashing these 30-year-old moments. We need some new ones.
Well, we bring a guest on, Eric, and I'm still the old guy, man. I can actually remember the game,
Yeah, that's true. That's true, Chris. But hey, with age comes wisdom, my man.